A Dickie is a great accessory to add a layer under a jumper or coverage to a dress without adding extra heat and bulk. It's also a great use for scraps from other projects. I'm going to show you a simple draft process that works for beginners. A couple of steps I have adjusted and simplified down to a general rule for all. If you already own a shirt sewing pattern, either a standard dress shirt or a shirt dress, feel free to trace the relevant sections off instead and skip the drafting. For this make, you will only need 2 measurements. The distance all the way around your neck at the point the colour will sit. Your shoulder width from the neck to the top of the arm. Take both measurements in centimetres as it makes the maths easier during drafting. To begin our pattern, begin with the main body. Start with a right angle and measure down by your neck divided by 5 minus 0.2. Now in the horizontal, measure across by your neck divided by 5 minus 0.7. Join with a deep round curve like this. Measure down by 4 centimetres and extend this line horizontally across the page. We will use this line as a guide to get our shoulder slope. Using your shoulder measurement, place this point on your ruler at the top neck point. Now angle the ruler till the 0 point hits the reference line we just drew. Draw this line. You can make it as long as you desire. I am going for under the breast, which is about 25 centimetres down from my neck point. Join these 2 points with a half oval shape like this. Make it smooth looking. Next, I reduce my shoulder to 9 centimetres wide. This is to save on fabric, as I don't need to extend it all the way to my shoulders, so mark this point. Adjust the arc shape if you have brought it in, but this is optional. You can make these rectangle if you wish, there isn't really any rules. The aim is simply to make the illusion of a full shirt extend below the neckline of whatever you wear above. Repeat this process for the body back. For the corner, measure down 1.5 centimetres. Measure across your neck divided by 5 minus 0.2. Join with a shallow curve this time. Measure down by 5 centimetres and extend this line out across horizontally. Connect to your neckline with the length of your shoulder plus 1 centimetre. The reason you add 1 centimetre is you can add a 1 centimetre dart about halfway across the shoulder line for a better fit. If you have rounded shoulders, you may wish to add this in to aid with fitting. I previously reduced the front to a 9 centimetre shoulder, so I eliminated the dart and marked this point to match. For the back length, I did it slightly shorter at 20 centimetres and joined with a curve again. That is our front and back. The back will be cut on the fold, so add that and also label them up. For both of these, we will add a 1 centimetre seam allowance, other than the neckline where I use 1.5 centimetres. You don't have to, but I find it easier to have a larger seam allowance to work with on a neckline. Next, we create the button band. This is the central part that overlaps and your buttons sit on it and your buttonholes. We will make one that is 1.5 centimeters wide. So we need a rectangle that is the length of our centre front and as wide as 1 centimeter seam allowance plus 1.5 centimeter button band, all multiplied by 2 as it will fold back on itself. So a total of 5 centimeters. Mark the halfway point on the short edges as this is where we will place our fold and label it. The button band also has an interfacing section that is equal to its width, so cut an additional rectangle of the same length that is 1.5 centimeters wide. Label this button band interfacing. The collar is made up of a collar stand and a collar with 2 separate parts. You can draft this as one, but I prefer 2-part collars, just a preference. Begin by creating a rectangle half your neck measurement wide with right angles either side. Make it 8.5 centimeters tall. I find this gives me a standard size collar you get on an average shirt. You can adjust these measurements to suit you. Mark a vertical line at the 3/4 point. Measure up from the right bottom corner 0.5 centimeters. Measure up on the left side 3.25 centimeters. This is the height of our collar stand. Extend this across horizontally. Measure in on this new line 0.75 centimeters from the right. Join up the dots as shown with curves extending outwards. We're forming the curve over the button band here, so match this to our button band width as 1.5 centimeters extension. The shape of your collar is really up to you. You can make it oversized, tiny, curved, long. I'd suggest make one and get the hang, then have a play with more outrageous designs after you know the process. Use your box to complete the shape of the collar with a mix of straight lines and curves as shown. I am going to make a shaped collar with a separate collar and collar stand. If you want a one piece, this now is your pattern. Otherwise, measure up from the collar stand by 0.75 centimeter on the left side. Join this in a curve down to the far end. For symmetry, both of these are cut on the fold, so mark this and label your pattern. Trace the 2 parts separately, smoothing any sharp transitions from line to curve. Add a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Again, use 1.5 centimeter at the neckline as this is what we did earlier. Finally, the collar and collar band each have interfacing on one side, and the easiest way to form this is to copy your pattern piece and cut off the seam allowance. As you can see, this is a low fabric requirement project and can use up your scraps. Cut your pattern from a lightweight to medium woven fabric like a cotton lawn or viscose. Your front cut twice in a mirror image like so. You will have your back cut on the fold. Your button band cut twice with 2 fusible interfacing bands cut. A collar cut twice on the fold, then the collar interfacing. The undercollar cut twice on the fold and the fusible interfacing. To complete the project, you will need buttons of approximately 1 cm width and a fastening method, either a tie or elastic. I will discuss this later as you can use either. We will begin construction with the button band, pressing each in half wrong sides together. Use the fold to align the long edge and apply your fusible interfacing to one side on the wrong side of the fabric. Remember, when you press, to lift your iron and move to the next location. Do not slide along your fabric. Press under the opposite long edge to the interfacing by 1 cm. Align with the front edge of your front body, right sides together. Sew with a 1 cm seam allowance. Backstitch at the beginning and ending of your seam to secure your stitches. Turn the button bands to the correct side and press with the seam allowance facing the button band. Be careful as you work not to go over the previous folds or you will need to redo them. Using the folds, roll the button band around the back of the front section, aligning with the previous stitch line and pin. Your button band will be 1.5 centimeters wide. Secure by top stitching 1/8 inch either side of your button band long edge. For best results when top stitching, work from the right side of your garment, and you can use a contrast thread for detail if you wish. Align the shoulders for the front and back sections, right sides together. Sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Always work in the same direction on each side, so either sew from the shoulder to the neck or the neck to the shoulder. You will get better symmetry in your work. Finish the seam however you choose. I used an overlocker. I have a video linked above with seam finish methods to help you choose. Press the seam allowance together towards the back. Before we go any further, we will stabilise the neckline to prevent it stretching out of shape. Sew at the 1 centimeter mark around the neckline with a long straight stitch on your machine. Start at the centre back to the front, then centre back to the front again on the other side. Apply your interfacing to the wrong side of one collar and one collar stand. These will become your top collar and your outer collar stand, the one that will not touch your skin. Align your collars right side together. Stitch around the outer free edges using a 1 cm seam allowance. At the corners, leave your needle down and lift your presser foot. Pivot your fabric and lower your presser foot. Now continue to sew in the new direction. Trim the corners and the seam allowance and cut notches along the curved section. Turn the collar the correct way round. Press the collar, rolling the edges slightly to the underside of the collar. Top stitch around the outer edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can use a contrast thread for top stitching to add interest to your design if you wish. Pivot at the corners again. Increase your stitch length to baste the raw edges together. Your raw edges may not line up perfectly now, but that's normal. On your inner collar stand, press under the bottom edge by 1.5 centimeters. Aligning the centre points and the notches of the extension, pin your collar to the interface collar stand. You want the undercollar to face the outer collar stand. Turn over and align the inner collar stand with the folded edge on top. Collar will be sandwiched between the two. Sew with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Remember to set your machine back at a standard stitch length after the previous step. Notch your corners and trim down your seam allowance. Turn your collar stand the correct way round and press. We will now attach our collar to our main body section. Begin by straightening the neckline right side up. Align the interface collar stand to the neckline, matching centre and end points. Sew catching only the interface collar stand at 1.5 centimeters. You may need to pull the rest of the collar section out of the way to do this. I find it easier to work from the centre point out and then the other side for this step, but you can go straight across. Turn the rest of the collar stand down to align with this newest stitch line. Pin in place and then sew permanently with a top stitching line around the collar stand at 1/8 inch. A common issue people face when applying a collar is the collar stand extends too far past the button band and looks unsightly. I'm going to show you a simple fix here to do if this happens. Begin by pinning the fabric flat and in place. We will return to our machine and reconnect the top line to the side of the button band. We're effectively re-sewing the end curve closer in. When you sew, make sure you do not sew onto the button band, but as close as possible. It's now much closer. Trim away the excess and continue with construction. The next steps I won't go into much detail. First, you need to add your buttons to the right side of your front button band as it lies flat on the table facing you. Apply your corresponding buttonholes to the right side. Your machine manual will talk you through the best way of getting buttonholes. You want them in the vertical direction. To hem, press the outer edge under by 0.5 cm. Go all the way around. Then go again, pressing under by a further 0.5 cm. This can feel a little fiddly at times because it's such a small amount. Sew it at a 0.5 cm top stitch. An alternative method is to simply overlock all the way around the outer edge. Your Dickie is now complete. Try it on and get a feel for it. Simple and quick and barely any fabric. You may want to add ties or elastic under the arms to hold it in place. Just attach it where you need around the hem point. I do this with hand stitching. I am Elfie Sew and I create sewing tutorials for all abilities. Please hit like if you have enjoyed today's video and subscribe if you want notifications of new videos. Happy sewing!